I know not best comparison, etc. Okay, it's not written quite right. I will paraphrase Tiffany's question. Her question simply is this. Referring to Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden and John Lennon. Both of them are British. Both of them have British accents. It wouldn't have to be British. It could be anybody with an accent. The question basically is how come when people are singing that we know that they come from a you know, they have an accent, they have an English accent or a German accent or whatever, and when we hear them speak, but when we hear them sing, we don't hear the accent like we do when they speak. British speaking individuals are singing, they don't really sound British typically. Now there may be a subtle, you may hear it a little bit subtly, but as a general rule, a lot of it or all of it sort of goes away. Why is that? Why is it that when people are singing, we don't hear their accents as profoundly as we do when they're speaking? All right, 2 reasons for that. Number 1, the consonants and the vowels, the phonetics of speaking, what I'm doing right now, the way the little tiny muscles inside my larynx and my vocal folds are moving and compressing and contracting, and the way my tongue and my lips and articulators are moving to articulate American style English, okay? Specifically, we have different dialects in the US, specifically Pacific Northwest, Seattle style English. Okay, the way I'm moving to make those sounds are radically different than the way my tongue and my lips and my little muscles around my vocal folds and all of that are moving and articulating for singing. And that applies to anybody. Bruce Dickinson, who's British, from Iron Maiden, when Bruce speaks to you in an interview, he sounds like a British chap.
Metal came out of something that was called heavy rock. Heavy rock was simply an offshoot of blues rock.
Right? But when Bruce starts singing, you don't really hear an English accent. Not really. You don't. I don't think you really do.
What shall I do? Oh, yeah.
Okay? Why? Because when Bruce is singing, just like when I'm singing or John Lennon is singing, when he's singing, he's articulating a set of consonants and vowels that are unique and exotic for an art form called singing, right? Not speaking. It's not the same thing. And by the way, that's why we have an online course. That's why we have a book. That's why we have voice coaches like myself in big studios. Okay? That's why there's an industry of voice coaches. Not the only reason, but it's one of the reasons. It's because students come and take lessons, and it's one reason why singing can be hard. It's because the body has to learn new ways of doing the consonants and the vowels that are radically different than speech. So you sort of have to, sort of like learning a new language. Learning to sing is kind of like learning a new language because you have to teach the articulators new movements, all right? So that's that. Now the other thing is this is particularly interesting. The second reason is it deals with the physics of sound in the human voice. The higher we go in frequency, the more all of the vowel colors begin to become homogenized and become one. All right? So down here at lower frequencies, which, by the way, that's where the speaking voice resides. The speaking voice is sort of low in frequency. I'm kind of, I'm talking around I don't know, maybe a low G, A, somewhere around there is where I'm speaking, okay? So on the low frequencies, A, I, O, A, all of these vowel colors are very clear. They're very finite. An A is an A, an A is an A, an O is an O, an E is an E, okay? Especially when you're speaking, primarily because it's low in frequency. The lower the frequency, the more distinct the vowel colors are perceived, all right? That's why country singers who are singing low in their chest voice, it sounds a little bit more speech-like. Okay. On the other hand, as we go higher in frequency, all of those unique sound colors begin to sort of homogenize. All right. Eventually, at some point, super high in the voice, all those sound colors blend into one, and eventually it becomes a whistle. Okay, that's what a whistle is. Whistles only happen at super high frequencies, and a whistle is basically, in some sense, it's all of the vowel colors, all the speech vowel colors, scrunched up, compressed into one homogenized sound because it's so high. But there's enough homogenization, there's enough of that physics phenomenon going on around that fourth octave that it removes the accent.
Wow.
Okay? It sort of takes away all those little nuances that are unique to speech that you don't get on singing. Okay, so let's summarize. Why do people with accents, when they sing, not sound like they have their accent? Number one, because the vowels and the consonants that they're using for singing are exotic, and they're literally, it's a different vocabulary of articulated movements than speech. That's one reason. Two, in particular, in regards to the vowels, the higher you go in frequency, the more all of the distinct vowel colors begin to homogenize and become one. All right? At some point, it literally becomes a whistle, which you can't really sing through a whistle. All right? You can use whistle as a vocal effect like Mariah Carey, sure. But you don't like sing words through a whistle. Why? Because there's no vowel colors. It won't work. All right? So somewhere around the fourth octave, as I said, you're starting to get a little bit of that homogenization of the sound colors, enough to remove accents and speech-like nuances. But you still have enough separation that you can sing a song and belt and be Bruce Dickinson all day long. Voice coach has a student that says, hey, my student wants to know, what is the twanger? And where is it exactly located inside our body, and what does it do? Okay, the twanger is just a slang casual word for a little tiny muscle that is responsible for contracting the epiglottis, for moving the epiglottis. That muscle is called the aryepiglottic sphincter. Okay? On the count of three, everybody say aryepiglottic sphincter. 1, 2, 3.
At the top of the trachea is your voice box, or larynx, and this is the way it works. There are two bands of cartilage stretched across the top. Another name for these bands are the vocal cords. Now, certain muscles can move these bands wide apart or close together. As you breathe out, the outrushing air causes these bands to vibrate, and this creates sound.
Great. The aryepiglottic sphincter, or the AES. You don't see it on this model, but what the AES does is it makes the epiglottis come down, and the epiglottis does two things. The epiglottis does two things. Number one, it covers the trachea when you swallow so you don't choke to death. Okay? That's its main purpose. The other thing that the epiglottis does is when you're singing and you're engaged in the physical vocal mode known as vocal twang, you'll learn about it in our program, all right? And you're engaged in cry mode, which also produces vocal twang, compression on the vocal folds. when you're twanging, all right, it engages the air epiglottic sphincter, and the air epiglottic sphincter moves the epiglottis down. The epiglottis kind of goes down like this, all right? And what that does is that creates the epiglottic funnel, all right? My vocal folds are sitting here. This is the epiglottis. This is the pharynx, the back of my upper vocal tract, and the epiglottis comes down like this, all right? And now you see the space, the air space, the sound space begins to get pinched. It gets closed. We call that the epiglottic funnel. The epiglottic funnel. When you create the epiglottic funnel, what that does is it helps amplify your voice, all right? So the twanger is referring to a little tiny muscle that's attached to the epiglottis, which is called the air epiglottic sphincter, and it contracts and makes the epiglottis come down and cover the vocal folds when we swallow so we don't choke to death. And two, when we're singing, it makes the epiglottis move partially so it kind of closes the sound space in the upper vocal tract. We call that the epiglottic funnel. And what that does is it amplifies the sound, and that contracted movement also helps compress the vocal folds.
Hey, if you liked the video, subscribe and click the little notification bell thing. And go out to our Facebook group. Go to the Vocalist Studio Facebook group. It's awesome, exploding with activity and community. Thanks for watching.